Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Corey. I'm just a guy on my lunch break. Um, so yesterday was quite a bit of a challenge. Um, for those who don't know, I'm in North Carolina, pretty much directly central North Carolina in a city called Greensboro. I live in a city called Greensboro. I work about 30 minutes from home in a neighboring city called Thomasville. And we had some pretty significant storms across North Carolina yesterday, including winds in excess of 70 miles per hour, so forth and so on. Well, I live in a very wooded lot at my home, very private, wooded lot with lots of trees and forestation around the house. And so yesterday, somewhere around maybe 3 o'clock, my wife called me. I'm still at work. My wife calls me and's like, pray for us. It's getting really bad over here. The wind was really blowing really bad. And we had a tornado to sweep literally almost directly over our house around this time last year, uprooting a couple of trees in the yard. Very, very fortunately, none of the trees hit the house, so our house was fine. Other than had a couple, two or three shingles, kind of flew off the top of the house. So we had a couple of shingles come off, but nothing major. And and so my wife kind of has some PTSD from that scenario because she was at home when that happened, and she described how bad it was. I mean, she looked outside and it was completely white. She couldn't see anything, and all you could hear was just they were pretty much right in the middle of a tornado. And so anytime we get significant storms like that around the house, she gets relatively nervous, right? And yesterday was no different. So she calls me yesterday about 3 o'clock, said the power's gone out. It's storming really, really bad. Say a prayer for us. We're kind of all huddled in the closet, to make sure that we're safe. And so that happened. And a couple of hours later, around 5, I get off of work, head back home, and I'm talking to my wife on the way home, and she's telling me we still don't have power. Not sure when the power is going to be back on, that sort of thing. And so, I went back to the house, and when I pulled in, now when I say I live in a neighborhood, I live kind of off of a golf course. It's not a neighborhood like a subdivision. Like, you pull into my neighborhood and then there's a couple of roads and then a couple that run perpendicular and then there's a cul-de-sac and stuff. It's not that type of neighborhood. It's not like a subdivision. It's a neighborhood called Forest Oaks, where there's a country club, there's a golf course, but Forest Oaks expands, probably a 3 to 4 mile radius each way. So it's a pretty big area, kind of like an outer suburb of Greensboro, which is the city that I live in. Although it's not in the city, it's like an outer suburb. And as I start to pull through Forest Oaks, I'm like, oh man, there's trees down everywhere. I saw a couple of houses with trees actually had fallen onto the homes. Obviously, I knew that had not happened at my home because my wife was there and she had already told me. So I was thankful for that. But, just debris everywhere. I mean, you could tell that we got hit pretty hard. As I'm riding through, there's just debris all over the streets and, smaller limbs and stuff that have flown off of the trees and are in the roads and the ditches and all over people's yards and all over people's roofs and, just all of that. And so I got home, went home yesterday. My wife had already pulled her car in the garage, and we have an older style, we have a double 2.5 car garage with, two doors, two garage doors, and they're older school style. This house was built in the 80s. I mean, it's a nice brick home, but it was built like, I think in 81 or 82, somewhere around in there. So the garage doors are like older style. and so there's not a release button. There's not a release switch on the garage doors, right? So when the power goes out, you can't open the garage door. If you have the garage door open and then something happens to the power and you don't have electricity, you can't close the garage door, right? It's one of those that it only operates on, electricity. And so my wife had already pulled her car into the garage, so her car is locked in the garage. She can't open the garage door to get her car out. And then I get home about 5:30 and I can't get into the garage because I can't open the garage door to pull my car in, right? So that's how it started out. Went in, hung out for a couple of minutes. Well, first off, I kind of walked the property, surveyed the damage a little bit. We had a couple of chairs down by our fire pit that were, we have 4 chairs down there, and not one of them were sitting by the fire pit anymore. We had a couple up in the side yard, a couple right down near the lake. One was almost completely in the lake. And then one of them, I looked at it and it was completely broken. They're not like really, really expensive chairs, like plastic kind of Adirondack chairs that we had gotten from, Lowe's Home Improvement. And one of them was completely broken. And so I kind of walked around, looked at the damage a little bit. We've got, here I am about to go out of town a couple of days, and I come home and my property just looks like a complete hellfire and brimstone. It just looks horrible. I mean, there's stuff everywhere. There's sticks all in the yard. There's sticks all over my back deck, not including leaves. There's leaves all on top of the house, random sticks all on top of the house. You look up at the gutters and it looks like somebody just took mud, threw it up in the air, and then took a blower and went and just blew mud and dirt all over my, all over the gutters and kind of the side of the house. I mean, luckily it's a brick home, so you can't see a lot. The brick does a pretty good job. I mean, dirt's the same color as brick, basically, so it does a pretty good job of hiding, any dirt and mud and stuff like that that's gotten on the home. I'm sure if we had siding, it would look significantly worse. But, I'm going out of town to Boston in a couple of days, going to the UFC this weekend, and I'm that type of person. I like my home to be straight. I like my yard to be straight. I like it to be manicured. I'll be going, myself and my oldest son will be going this weekend to the UFC, and we're leaving my wife there with the baby by herself. She's going to have the baby. She's not going to have time to do anything around the house because he's pretty much attached to her hip, most of the time. So I get there, that already stresses me out a little bit. Looking at my property and like, damn, this is a full day's cleanup right here. To get the yard mowed, get all these sticks picked up everywhere, hopefully get my pressure washer and kind of wash off my gutters, and everything's just hella nasty, right? We got chairs strewn all over the property. We've got I've got some lights, that are kind of up on my back deck. One of the hooks holding the lights up got completely ripped off, so the lights are, hanging like 4 feet from the ground when they're supposed to be, or 4 feet off of the deck when they're supposed to be up by the roof. Just stuff like that. I'm like, oh God. So that stressed me out a little bit. Definitely had some triggers yesterday afternoon. I got home. By the time I got home, the power had already been out for 2 or 3 hours. So it was you could already start to tell that it's getting a little warmer inside the house. My wife had just gone to the grocery store that day. I had sent her with a list, like, we're out of milk, need to get some milk, need to get a few more things, they go in the refrigerator. There's a couple of things I needed for when we travel out of town this weekend. And she goes and buys the milk, comes home, no more than 10 minutes after she gets the brand new thing of milk into the refrigerator, power goes out, storm. So, I've got a full gallon of unopened milk wasting away in the refrigerator right now, amongst other things that she bought, but I'm not going to go into all that, other perishable items. But anyway, it started getting hot. Then my wife had laid out chicken to cook some chicken for dinner. Can't cook chicken if you don't have power, right? So we start thinking about what are we going to do for dinner. There's no TV, there's no air, there's no anything. So obviously, I get home and I'm a little bit frustrated about everything that I've seen. Obviously, the thought crossed my mind a couple of times. Sure would have been nice to hit up that head shop on the way home and have some kratom in my system right now so that I wouldn't give a shit about all of this. Obviously, I didn't. Obviously, I don't have any kratom on me, and I haven't in 25 days. I'm 25 days off of kratom at this point. Didn't have any in the house. Had already driven past the head shop. Definitely wasn't going to go back just to get some. So it was one of those things where it's just like, oh, it is what it is. I didn't have a drink. I didn't smoke anything. I didn't do anything. Straight soberness yesterday evening. Definitely there were some triggers. Definitely this would have normally been a trigger for me. In fact, I'm not going to say that it wasn't a trigger. I think it was a trigger. I think that I just said no and I didn't take anything. But it's kind of rough at first, not using in a situation like that, because normally I would have used kratom to just kind of, damn, this is stressful, let me take something to kind of take the edge off, to where I don't really conceive of the stress the same way. But I didn't, obviously. And we kind of hung out in the living room. My wife ended up ordering some food to get it delivered. And we played a couple of hands of Uno. The card game Uno. That was interesting. That was pretty fun. That's something that I can honestly say I have not sat down sober and played a game of Uno with my family or my son in quite a long time, to be completely honest. So that was an interesting experience. But, after a couple of minutes, we had a couple of rounds. We got a couple of laughs in. We played, I think, 4 games total. And we got a couple of laughs in the process of the game. So that was good. That kind of felt good. It made me feel like, see, yeah, you had some enjoyable moments with that. Despite this being a stressful afternoon and a stressful evening, it's the last thing that I wanted to happen, 2 short days before I'm going out of town for the whole weekend, all the way to Boston, Massachusetts for the UFC, right? Last thing that I wanted to happen, but it is what it is. After that, we picked up my acoustic guitar, played a couple of tunes. I mean, what else is there to do? I have a keyboard, but it's you have to plug it in. It's a pretty nice large keyboard. It's not one of those that's like battery operated or anything. You have to have power for that, so I couldn't play that. So I picked up my acoustic guitar, tuned it up a little bit, played a couple of tunes on it. Again, something I haven't done sober in quite a while. I think it could have been more enjoyable if I were on something like Kratom, or I smoked a bowl or something like something like that. I think it would have been a little bit more enjoyable, but it is what it is. I mean, these are the kind of things that you have to start learning to do sober, and you have to start learning to adapt to that new way of life of doing these things sober now, as opposed to always being under the influence of something when you go to do those things. Because if you're always under the influence when you do them, then those things cease to be just naturally and intrinsically enjoyable to you anymore, right? Because you're always used to having something to help enhance that moment, when actually that moment should be intrinsically and inherently fun and enjoyable to you regardless. right? And so, yeah, the power never came on last night. In fact, it's 12:20 right now, the following day, and my power is still not on at my house. And my wife, my eldest son, and my 3-month-old baby are at home right now with no power in a house that has the temperature has escalated up to probably close to 80 degrees. We were worried about our baby last night because they have certain intolerances to certain temperatures. You're not supposed to get them, the ideal temperature for a young infant like that, 68, 70 degrees, 72 tops. You're supposed to have them in kind of a cooler range of temperature. So that concerned us, and it's one of those things you can't really open the window and get cooler air because there's, it was 90 something degrees outside yesterday. It got down to maybe in the 80s, the low 80s, and then high 70s on into the evening and then night. But you're talking about the absolute low last night, which was probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning, it was 74, 75 degrees. It never got cool enough outside where, oh, we can open the windows and let some cool air in. I mean, it never really got that cool at all. The only family nearby, my parents live 2 miles up the street. Their power was out too. The friends of ours that live right up the street that had the pool party this past weekend that we went to, their power was out too. My mother-in-law, who just moved into the area from Connecticut a couple of weeks ago, she lives about 15 minutes away from us. She still had power, and but she's just now getting her house set up. And her sisters, who had come into town this past week, they were supposed to fly back yesterday on Tuesday. Well, their flight got delayed due to the storms. So her sisters were still there, sleeping on her couch. She doesn't have any extra bedrooms set up yet. She just moved there, right? And she had to get rid of a lot of stuff, as she was downsizing. And so literally, we could have went over there and sat in the air condition, but it would have been super cramped. We wouldn't have had anywhere to sleep because there would have been 5 extra people. Myself, 6 extra people, the 2 sisters, my family of 4, and my mother-in-law in a house that only had 1 bed. Not really an option, right? So, for us, it's like, we had the thought, it's already 6:37 in the evening. We're like, well, should we just wait it out? Should we try to, you hate to go spend $150 on, you've already probably wasted, $100 on groceries that are going bad in the refrigerator right now. Do we want to just try to stay here, tough it out, hoping that they go ahead and get the power on sometime later tonight? You don't want to go and spend the extra $150 on just, going to a hotel or something for one night and then, go pay for the hotel, get into the hotel, and then as soon as you check into the hotel and get in your room, look at your phone and you got a notification that your power came back on at your house. And so we started thinking about that. We're like, well, we don't want to, we fig, and not only that, but we got a 3-month-old. We would have had to pack a bag for him. We would have had to put his bassinet in the car, made sure we had diapers, made sure formula. We would have all had to pack an overnight bag. Meanwhile, him screaming, wanting to be fed, diaper change stuff while we're trying to do all that, and it's already 6:30 in the evening. It's 3 hours from our bedtime already, and so it was one of those things, like, it just wasn't even worth it, like it wasn't even worth it. Nowhere we can go. We're just kind of stuck staying in the house, and so we did. Stayed at the house last night. It was hot as shit. Barely slept last night. To the point where I got up this morning, I emailed my work and we're like, hey, I had to, because I'm probably one of the only people I'm probably one of the only people that work at my place of work that is from the Greensboro area. Most of those people are from either Thomasville, which is where my company is, or the immediate surrounding areas. Greensboro is about a 30-minute commute in the southeast direction from where I work. And to my knowledge, there's not really anybody that works around there, or that lives around there, rather. And so, for any of the other employees that were there, no problems. I don't even think anybody else really lost power at their residence. But I did. So I sent that message in saying, hey, hadn't had power since about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, which is tough with a 3-month-old at home. Might be 10, 15 minutes late to work today, which is no big deal, because I'm very committed to my job. But turns out I wasn't late. I ended up getting there on time, but I couldn't even have my coffee in the morning. So I got up this morning, and, obviously I'm not taking KRATOM. I'm 25 days off of KRATOM right now. And, I got up and I realized I can't even have my typical cup of morning coffee. Shit. I was like, damn it. All right. So I got up a couple of minutes earlier, because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make coffee at the house because we don't have power, right? Can't run a coffee maker. You don't have power, electricity, right? Not to mention, you can't shower because it will back up. If you run water, flush toilets, do all that stuff, it will back up the septic system. And we literally have one of those high-tech septic systems that if you do that too many times, or you take a shower, or you run too much water, we have an alarm for our septic system that will start going off in our house if we were to do that. And we've had it happen before, and then we couldn't figure out how to turn it off, and literally had to detach the thing from the wall and then bring a professional out to reset everything for us. So it's just a nightmare. You couldn't shower, you couldn't wash your hands. In order to brush your teeth, we had to use water bottles and step out onto the deck and brush our teeth, use soap, pour water on our hands, do this, pour some more water on your hands. It was just a bad deal. You can't go in your closet to find clothes because you're having to take your phone with you. Oh, and your phone, that's another thing. By the time I got home yesterday, my phone was already at like 40% maybe. My wife's was down even further than that because we both been working. We use our phones a decent amount. And out of the whole house, we had one of those little chargers that charges up your phone, right? Or that you can plug your phone into and it'll naturally charge it. And then my wife, of course, had her laptop and her tablet, which fortunately, she had the wherewithal of getting both of those charged fully, with the anticipating incoming storm. She actually thought, maybe I should charge those up in case we need to plug one of our phones or whatever into it to charge it up. So that was good on her, to think ahead to do that. But anyway, got up this morning, didn't have any coffee. Like, okay, no problem. There's a gas station a couple miles up the street. I'll just get up a little early, leave out a little early so I can drop by there and at least get myself some coffee, right? Because I've already put down KRATOM. I'm not trying to put down coffee just yet. I might one day, but maybe not. We'll see. But anyway, so I do that, get in my car, and as I'm driving, through Forest Oaks, I get about halfway to the gas station and I realize there's 18,000 people in my city, in the city of Greensboro, without power. And I look around and I'm seeing down trees, and I'm seeing, limbs and leaves and stuff everywhere. And I had the thought, like, bro, this gas station's probably not going to be open. I probably can't even get gas here, and not gas. I probably can't even get coffee at the gas station. So finally get to the gas station. Sure enough, I pull up. I'm like, no lights whatsoever. Not even the open sign is on in the gas station. But then I see cars out there, and I see a couple of people outside too. And I'm like, hey, maybe they're actually open. Maybe it's just, maybe they have like a generator or something. It's just certain lights that aren't being manifested outside. So I stop, I park anyway. I walk up to the door, kind of stick my head in. There's a couple of people standing there, including one of the employees. I'm like, "Are y'all open?" She's like, "We're open, but we can't do any purchases unless you have cash." I don't carry cash. I never carry cash. Not one penny of cash on me. I take that back. I have 4 quarters on me right now. And I thought to myself, well, I've got 4 quarters. I might could get a coffee with that. I'm sure they'd probably let me get a coffee. But then I'm like, any coffee? You're like, sorry, no, they don't have any power. They don't have any coffee brewed. You know, you can go in there and grab a bag of chips or any non-perishables or anything that they have, you know, on the shelves, or you can go grab a drink out of the cooler or whatever. But they didn't even have any coffee made. So I was just like, shit. So didn't have any coffee this morning. I did finally get some on the way to work, about 10-15 minutes down the street. I did actually stop and went ahead and got myself a cup of coffee, which was good. But this has basically been 26 and a half minutes of me bitching and complaining about what my day was like, what the end of my day was like yesterday. So you're welcome. Oh, but why did I do that? Why am I doing that? Obviously, that was a trigger for me yesterday. Obviously, I wanted to take some kratom. I wanted to do something. You know, I actually was not tempted to really have a drink. Partly because I knew it was going to be hot as shit anyway. And I'm one of those people that unless I just drink an ungodly amount to where I'm just drunk, which I don't like getting that way, unless I'm just drunk, alcohol actually disrupts my sleep. It actually makes my sleep worse. I don't know if it's that way for everyone, but I do know that there's some, you know, specific not medical, but there's some scientific evidence as to why alcohol does actually disrupt your REM sleep and all that. And I found that to be the case for me. If I just drink a little bit, just kind of enough to kind of piss you off a little bit, if I drink that type of amount of alcohol, it affects my ability to be able to sleep. I don't know why. And then I sure wasn't going to get wasted and drunk and then wake up at 3 a.m. with a hangover, and then it's 80 degrees on top of having a hangover, and on top of the fact that alcohol increases your temperature and you tend to get flush and more heated up and hot. You know, it thins out your blood, all these things. Heat, a hot house, and alcohol consumption just do not go together, right? So I wasn't about to have a drink. And, you know, same thing, weed. I do have a little bit of that at the house, up under the house, up under my deck. And I was, you know, that's one of those things I have to be in the mood for that sort of thing. I have to be already like, it's Saturday night or something. I'm hanging out at the house. I've had a couple of drinks. We're about to get in the hot tub. Oh, let me take a hit of the bowl. It has to be that sort of situation for me to want to do that. I don't like to just, you know, I'm straight sober. Let me go out here and get, you know, blitzed and hit the bowl and then come back in and hang out with my family. It's just not me. It's just not something I do. It's not something I enjoy doing. So I did it. And plus I tend to overthink things. I tend to get really paranoid when I'm on weed, you know, and that's one of the reasons I only ever do it like if I'm also having a couple of drinks or something, because then I kind of can find this happy medium where I've got a buzz, a little bit of a cross buzz with both, but haven't taken an over abundance of either. So I'm just right. So if I haven't drank anything and I go straight sober and I take a bowl hit to the head, I mean, there's a good chance that in like 10 minutes, I'm like, damn, I wish I hadn't have done that. Damn, I wish I hadn't have done that. You know, it makes me a little bit anxious, a little bit paranoid. That's probably because I don't do it very often. I mean, I'm sure that's why. I don't really have I guess, a tolerance for the Mary Jane anymore. I guess just being an older guy like myself, I just don't get into it that much. Plus, I'm a health nut too, and I exercise a lot, and it's one of those things where I know the smoke's not good for you, and it's just like, it's just something I don't ever really do that much. Is the Mary Jane. Yeah, my pothead days are way behind me. Drinking alcohol daily, those days are way behind me as well, which is one of the reasons I kind of had an affinity for the Kratom. There's not all these, side effects and the paranoia and then the hangover and, and then you're not inebriated like you are when you drink a decent amount of alcohol. You don't have the bloodshot eyes like you do when you smoke weed. Kratom doesn't make you dumb as a rock like marijuana does. There's just a lot of reasons that I kind of tended to gravitate towards the Kratom. But of course, I stopped taking the Kratom. At least for now. What? Oh, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to keep talking about that shit. Because people's comments, I love everybody that's subscribed to my channel. And in a lot of ways, I'm very appreciative of you guys because you've helped me get this far off of it. But I just want to point out that I've never, not once, said on this channel that I'm never going to take Kratom again. In fact, I purposely never said that because I knew that I would take it again at some point. I more so just wanted to reset my tolerance back to zero, so that I could get a better effect in the future if I did go back and want to take it, on an occasion. And, I love all you guys. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't want to talk about it because I'm getting so many comments. Half of, and it's split. It's split right down the middle, literally. A lot of people are like, you're a grown-ass man. Nobody can tell you what to do. If you're a disciplined person, it is, in fact, one of those things that you can take it every once in a while on an occasion. And then there's the other side who, no, man, don't do it. No, man, that's playing with fire. No, man, wait 90 days. No, man, wait at least 30 days. No, man, if you do it now, then you're going to end up taking it again. And then if, there's just all the, and the funny thing is, to all those people, I just want to say, dude, I never said I was never going to take the Kratom again. Get off my back, bro. I want to say that. Probably the reason I want to say that is because I want to take it. When I go this weekend, and I don't know why everybody subscribed to me. I don't know. I know everybody. I know I didn't get 366 subscribers now because people thought I was never going to take Kratom again. Because, bro, the first 3.5, 4 months that I did this channel, I was taking Kratom. I was taking Kratom. So obviously I wasn't on here preaching about abstinence and long-term recovery from Kratom. I'm just not that guy. Was never planning on doing that, but it's one of those things when you start getting a lot of different followers, and especially some of the newer followers since I've been off of the Kratom and I've tapered down. I think a lot of people have seen those headlines and, oh, this guy's doing it. This guy's off. This guy's subscribe. Let me subscribe to his channel, see what he's talking about. That gives me motivation. That gives me inspiration, but with that, the channel has kind of taken on a life of its own. And then I've got some subscribers who are like, fuck it, man, it ain't gonna hurt anything. You've been 25 days without it. Go ahead and take some on an occasion if you want to. It's all good. But then I have the other 50% that I don't know where they came from on my channel. The other 50% is kind of taking on a life of their own, and they're like, long-term recovery people, like, hey, no, don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Wait 3 months. Wait this, wait that, and it's one of those things where it's like, you might have the wrong guy, bro. You might have the wrong guy. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm not going to go back into it. It is my choice, you know, and I don't know why you subscribe to the channel. And if my going and taking some kratom this weekend, because I have a special occasion that is probably never going to happen again, to be honest, especially with myself and my son. You know, he's 17. He's considering moving back to Florida with his mother after he graduates, or a year or two after he graduates. We're dropping with hotel, driving. By the time we pay tolls, by the time we pay for the UFC tickets, I mean, we're dropping $2 or $3 grand this weekend to go to this fight, you know. And you know, I'm not a rich, wealthy person who just has a ton of time on my hands. I'm just not, you know. It was one of those things where I may never do this again with him, you know, at least not for a while. So it is truly a special occasion. And I will say that if I was not going to this UFC this weekend, I probably wouldn't be considering taking it. But I am, and I want to take it, so I'm probably going to take it. And the best I can say to everyone out there, and this is no offense to anyone, if you subscribe to the channel thinking that I was never going to use it again and that I was that guy, and then I go and I take it this weekend and I come back on Tuesday, it won't be Monday because I took off work on Monday. I may be driving still on Monday. But if I come back Tuesday and I say, hey guys, took some kratom this weekend, but I'm back off of it, and it'll be a while before I take it again, and you don't like that and you subscribe to my channel for a different reason, guess what? No offense, I still love you, I'm still pulling for you, but you're welcome to hit that unsubscribe button. You're welcome to do that. I'm not trying to become some huge major YouTuber, you know, in regards to kratom use or not using kratom. I know that was never my intention. This was just my own accountability mirror, and I never said that I was completely coming off of it. So anyway, love you guys. No offense to anyone with all of that, but bottom of the line is 47-year-old guy. It's my own life. It's my own decision, and I will make that decision based on what I want to do. But anyway, love you guys very much. Gotta go. I will see you next time. All right. Peace.